With grief, we somewhat develop fear of losing someone we love, and even without grief, due to some incident related to death, we develop that fear, and it's somewhat common. And I happen to know that when I saw one of the interview from the cast of Emily in Paris, and she said that she had that fear, and that's when I thought I had to do it because it was in my mind, and some way felt that no, I'm not in that position to talk about it, but I feel I'm in a better place than I started. So I'm going to share my own journey. And adding on to that, I've did some research. Let me just talk to you about that. First, I was constantly having that fear of losing my mom because when I lost my dad, it was all of a sudden, and I don't want that to happen to my mom because I know by that time that death is an option now. Before facing death face to face, death was not at all in the same and it was not at all an option, but now it was an option. And that option came up every time when I was trying to take a decision. For example, I wanted to go abroad and study, but one side of my mind used to think, what if when I return, my mom will not be there? And like many what if questions used to rise. And not only that, it impacted in every part of my decisions, not only professionally, even personally. It just interrupted, and I try to rationalize that fear. Yes, that's how I conquer my fear. I try to rationalize it by asking, what is the possibility of she dying before than me? Yes, obviously she has some diseases than me. I'm more healthier than her. But is that the only way of dying? No, there are n number of way of dying. So that's how I rationalize it. First thing I thought was there is possibility, but that is not entirely proven that, or like it's given that she's going to go before me. Death is so unpredictable. I remember having a chat with my dad while seeing my mom's astrology book. I just read this line saying that yeah, you will die before mom. I just literally said that line to him by reading from that book, and he was literally choking that yeah, she will be there, but I will leave. But somehow it got to happen because my dad was so healthy than my mom. They are not even comparative. My dad was so healthy, he didn't have like blood pressure or diabetes, nothing. He was absolutely perfect as far as for our eyes, and even the doctor confirmed, the general physician, he confirmed that he would live at least for 70. And he just complained to my mom, why are you like this? You should just take knowledge from your husband. Look at him, how he's taking care of his body. You should also do that. That was the chat of that doctor. But death is unpredictable. Anyone can leave before anyone. That's the ideology of death, and that's somewhat rationalized. And not only that, and ever since I got to deal with anxiety in different parts of my life, I've just broken down in why it is happening. Every time when we face an anxiety, it's mostly because we are trying to control things which are out of our control. Even now, I was just so pissed off by crow's sound outside, and I was constantly trying to chase it, but it was not going to give up on me. And then I was like, okay, let's just go with it, and just like got with it. And luckily, it's not making sound right now. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad. But I don't know whether I can proceed like this. That's what I'm coming to say. Like, just we can control only what is in our hands, and that's the main reason for anxiety. If you just think about it, you will get it. And not only that, death is beautiful. Yes, you heard me right. Death is really beautiful. It is the one solution to every problem you have. You are facing your death of a loved one from your side. Think about that from their side. It's the end of their problems. Yes, and it's the end of their pain. If they are suffering from some traumatic pain, chronological pain, it's the end of it. Isn't it beautiful? And I am someone who believes in afterlife, and I moved to spirituality. If you are someone you know, and I want to talk about it in depth later in the series. But right now, I believe that there is afterlife. A fresh start. Who doesn't want a fresh start? Maybe it would be hurting for me, but not for her. And I have tried to talk about this topic because before with my mom, sorry, before, oh my god, I shouldn't have said that. That fear, I'm not entirely suppressed it or just dealt with it, but I am dealing with it. Even while researching for this topic, I was little off and I want to just call it off, but somehow I just pushed myself to do it. It's because while talking about it, it's not about me but about the person who's going to hear it, and maybe they are in a position which I suffered before, and that's why I just push myself to just finish the research at some point and just talk about it. Yes, same way I just talked about death with my mom. I just asked her, are you afraid that you will leave the world? Because she is not a person who's afraid of death of herself. I know that fact, and that's why I just discussed it with her. If your loved one is afraid of it, don't just bring up this topic. You know why? So I just asked her, and she was like, no, I'm happy to leave even the next second because of the pain I'm going through and because of the traumas I'm going through. And I was like, yeah, I'm selfish. This is the fear of being selfish, actually. We just want them to live only for our sake. If it is in the case of a healthy person, yes, there is possibility of fearing of losing someone who's absolutely healthy. Maybe because of the event you went through before a sudden death. So you believe, like my dad, you believe that death of healthy people is possible all of a sudden, and that's why you develop that fear. And we constantly worry because, and yeah, now we shall talk about the research which I did. A fear of losing someone is actually known as thanatophobia. Yes, I was right, or else commonly it is known as death anxiety. Somehow, with me, when I come to see a term for what I'm going through, I somehow feel like I've dealt half the battle because it's not something exclusively only for me, because that's scary. And if the world is going through that, at least a percentage of world is going through that, okay, I can get through it. It's somewhat common and it's less scary. And especially encourage people are, I'm conscious of that crew. Let's wait for it to leave, maybe. No, I'm not going to let something which I can't control to control my life. Okay, bye baby. It's raising its voice. Okay, I guess we need to have a break. Psychologist have shared an article about this fear, and she says why we worry a lot about losing someone, because worry is a brain way of saying that you are safe and in control, because it's not only out of your control, as I said before, right? And that's why your brain constantly worry, because it wants to be in control and safe. And not only that, but by worrying it thinks that it is doing something proactive and not in a fear or sad. Just to divert from there, it's worrying, and that's the reason you're constantly worrying about it. And it is also a brain is cooking up a story to you, adding up all those what if to bring a worst case scenario, because we are constantly thinking about the worst case scenario, and when it happens it won't be a big shock to you as it was before. And that's why the brain does that, and she has a good number of way to deal with it. And one such thing which she says is that when you ask the dying person what's your biggest fear, they probably would say that they want their family to be healthy. While they are dying, they will think about the health of their family and not themselves. So, at least for them, you need to be healthy. Even if they are a healthy person or a dying person, for at least for your family's sake, you need to address. And by addressing, I mean that you need to just just give attention to your mind while worrying and say, is it rational? Is the thought that the brain cooking up, is it even making sense to you? If it is not, you need to take conscious step to move out of it. It is easy saying than done, and I know that I've been there, but by practice you can get through it. Really, by practice you can get through it, but it's going to take time. And how will you treat a boy? This is also something she said, like, how will you treat a fireball who is afraid of losing his parent? Will you just go and say to him that be so tough and just face it? No, you just give him a warm hug and just try to explain him. And that's the way you should handle yourself. That's what she's saying. I'll add the link of that article below. Please check it out. It was so good, and she did talk about the thoughts. And another one thing she said, that if your thought is going to say to you that you're a purple elephant, and if you're going to look at the mirror, are you a purple elephant? No, you are not what your thoughts are cooking up. You are much more than that. She have said it more beautifully than I did, so definitely read it. And coming back to me, what I do when I am in fear, in any fear, is that I just look. There are only two main fear of humans. One is fear of loud sound, and another one is fear of falling. If that fear comes into those two categories, I'll just accept it. Else, I'll just handle it, and you too can handle it.